So you moved to a 200-hectare block in Waihi. Sounds like a fresh start. What was the most exciting part of that move?
Wasn't milking cows, and I didn't have to drive the tractor.
Oh, that's good. Any initial impressions of that land?
Look, one of the big things was like flying up to Great Barrier in the summertime from Te Arawa, where we grew up on the swamp. We'd be dry as a chip, barren, hot, droughty sort of weather. You go up to Great Barrier and you'd fly down the east coast of the Coromandel, and parts of it are green, and Waihi was always green. And I'm going, oh, this isn't a rain belt. I like it here. I don't like being dry. And so that was a huge part. And getting there, going to look at the farm, we went over there in one afternoon and they'd had a shower the night before. We were dry as buggery at home, and it was quite moist there. And I'm going, I like this. I really like this. Climate, off the main road, everything brilliant. I forgot to ask for the soils. I mean, I didn't really know at the time. I'd grown up on poor soils. And when you put out the old big, I want clean water, because we had iron water on the peak.
Yeah.
I wanted to be off the main road, because we had a main road running through the middle of the farm. I want this, I want that, and good climate. But I didn't say I want good soils, because I didn't know what they were. And so, I left the peat farm. And, well, one thing about the peat farm, you were accessible to get product on there, lime or whatever, easy with a tractor and whatever, as long as you didn't sink through the surface. Bit different on this hill country. You had to be a bit more. We could get to about a bit over half with the spreader truck, 2/3 maybe. So there was limitations, and then there was cost too. So that wasn't asked for. That lime part was going to be a problem. Getting the pH up and all that sort of thing. So we jumped right on in, and bugger.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise. So what about from dairy to beef though?
Look, when I went over there, we took our heifer replacements from the dairy cows the first year, and I bought a whole lot more, and I was going to bring them up. So it was sort of like selling a herd of cows 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And it worked pretty well, although we were bloody tight on feed, and it was hard to get them to the condition I wanted, but we did all right. But I also took my cull cows, and so I was rearing 2 calves per cow on the cow. So there was a change. It was still full on. It just wasn't in the cow shed. It was in my own little shed with calves.
So you didn't find it just liberating?
No, it was bloody hard.
Significant shift.
Yeah, totally, but it was mine. It was supposedly mine.
Yeah, right.
And you just launched into it, and there wasn't anyone telling you what to do. And, it brought lots of interesting challenges.
Did you have anyone in your life that was a significant influence on shifting to beef? That you had watched do it and you thought, I can do that?
No, we grew up doing it, didn't we?
Right, okay.
And I just I want to go back there.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the cattle. I mean, the one thing about the dairy side of things, I loved watching the changes in the cows with the breeding and the understanding what you were bringing forward. But having to milk them every day to actually see that, it wasn't that exciting, especially on a 30-degree summer's day in January. It's the worst place in the world to be.
How did you manage that much rainfall with twice the rainfall?
It runs off. It goes through the soil. It's just completely different. Like, it wasn't a drain on the farm.
I was going to say, it sounds daunting. I mean, promising on the one hand, on the other.
No, fantastic.
Really?
Really, really good free draining soil. Like, to a point, it was really free draining, but because there wasn't enough nutrients and everything to hold it together.
Right.
So the rain had to come reasonably often, otherwise it got dry quite quickly there. But it was way better than being on the peat.
Any big surprises about managing that much water?
You got wet real quick.
Okay. All right. So,
as time went on the farm, there was a couple of times there where the water was just phenomenal. Where the farm was made up of 3 ridge lines going down, and they had tracks down, and they used to go across the bottom to go to the other parts. When it really let rip, and it only happened probably 3 or 4 times, you couldn't get across the bottom because the creeks going down were so over the everything. You had to come back up the top, across, and go back down again. So it was a bit of a pain in the ass when it was wet and you didn't want to be out there. it was actually took longer because you had to come up the farm, go back down the farm, up the farm, and back down the farm to actually get what you wanted to get done.
Right.
But it disappeared real quick. It didn't, it wasn't like on the peat where once you got saturated, you were saturated fully. But, it's changed now in Waihi that, like, where we are on Dad's block, man, it doesn't take much to make a mess now because the soil's so fertile that the stock make a bit of a trampling, but it comes back good. So it was a complete change. I mean, I was growing up on flatland, and we went to these hills. And, there's one incident I didn't put in the book, and I can recall it quite vividly. We had a cow got in the creek down the bottom of the farm, and I went to the neighbour. I said, look, I've got a cow in the creek, and I don't think I can get her out with just my tractor. Can you come down? So Kerry Smith came down the hill with me, and I had a little Fiat 550 four-wheel drive, and I got to one part about halfway down the farm, and the bloody thing jumped out of four-wheel drive, and it took off, and I couldn't stop it. I had to jump off.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was pretty out there. Anyway, the tractor headed off down the hill towards the forestry, and all I thought was I was going to see cast iron smashed into a million pieces.
Yeah, right.
But it had in the power steering, it had a crab that it naturally turned right by itself. And so we tore off down this hill, and at one stage the back wheel was about 6 feet off the ground, and it was slowly turning right, and it just kept turning right. And over an arc of about 100 metres, it turned and round, and I don't know how it did it, but it turned and kept going around, and then it came back up the hill, and it stalled.
That's an Italian safety feature. Just go around in circles.
It was crazy. Anyway, Kerry Smith came over to me and says, geez, Ewy, if I had the chance of watching Debbie Does Dallas or watching Ewy going down the hill on the tractor, I'd watch Ewy going down the hill on the tractor any day.
It's funny.
And that such is the force that it hit at times, and I don't know how it didn't flip over. The back wheel actually bent the rim. So for the next how long I had the tractor, you went down the road and the back wheel was yeah. So, man alive, that was probably the biggest wake-up call to being on hills. I'm just about welded that bloody four-wheel drive shut on that thing, and that wasn't going to happen again. But, yeah, it was a bit of a, okay, this is the dangers of the hill. If things go wrong, they go wrong quick and in a different way. So, like in the peat, you got stuck. Well, oh, bugger. But going down the hill at 30 miles an hour on a tractor that you don't want to be is not a good idea.
No, not at all. God. It sounds like a jet ski that got loose and then goes around in circles. It's like, when you mentioned in the book the electric netting for sheep, was that new at the time? There
was very few people using it. I know
you'd
that.
seen it being done.
Dad got hold of it. I'm not sure where he got the process from. I've actually still got some of this in the shed at home.
Yeah, I had to ask you what it was made of, right?
Yeah, well, it's the same as today farmers use reels with pegs in it, but this was actually a netting, and we'd pull out. Came in 50 metre links, and we had 2 or 3 of them to hook together across the paddock, and we had a few lambs got their heads stuck in it like the old fish to start with. But
I was going to say if there were any mishaps with it.
Only a couple to start with. Then they learnt to keep away from it.
Sure.
Yeah, worked a treat. But
if you're stuck in it, continually being shocked, I don't think you'd ever want to do that again.
They didn't.
No.
They didn't get the chance to.
No, right. All right, tell me about willowweed and lambs.
Well, they just what we found was that if you control something, if we'd let the lambs in the paddock right across the whole, they would have gone around and eaten all the grass and left the willowweed.
Right.
But because we were break fencing them and they were hungry, they'd go in there and they'd eat the grass, willowweed and everything, clean it off, bang. So we got a better control. And this is what we'd done with rushes with the Angus cows. And
you joked they wouldn't have tasted great though.
No. Well, I know, you are what you eat. I mean, willowweed doesn't taste very nice, I can tell you that now.
Right. Did you ever think, why am I doing this?
No, not at the time. I mean, it made perfect sense at the time. To say that the use of livestock to control pasture, I was brought up with. Right from the start, you used the electric fence, you grazed paddocks, you got them to eat the weeds. You got them to eat the rushes. Like Angus cows would eat rushes at the right time of the year. You'd throw a bit of hay on, a bit of salt. And so there was no need to get the tractor out. Diesel costs money. Cows don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you let them go to it. And so we were well attuned to using the livestock to manage the process. Big thing is that they respond to fertility, so if the weed is a bit sweeter or something like that, it gets nailed. So as you're changing the fertility, you can use the cattle better and better.
At that stage, were you using your own brews?
No, not there. We were
okay,
just in that changeover when we went to Waihi. That was the big question about what are we going to do?
Yeah, well, the reason I asked that was because, if I recall, you were trialling different fertilizers, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, as soon as I got to Waihi, I put down trial plots and I tried out superphosphate, triples, was it potassic super? I got some fly ash from Te Aomori Dairy Factory.
What is fly ash?
It's the leftover the coal furnace.
Oh, that's right. Okay. You let the cattle choose their favourite, right?
Well, I just let in the trial plots. I didn't fence it off to see how much grew so much. I was watching how much grew, and I measured it with a electronic plate meter sort of thing. And so I knew how much was growing, and I was measuring it each month, and then I'd let the livestock in and see what they ate and looked underneath. And so it was a case of like, we've got to do something, and whatever they'd done before wasn't the answer. So that was the critical thing.
Right.
Because they weren't the place didn't grow the grass like what they sort of proposed it was. So obviously whatever he did wasn't working. So I looked at what he did and going, well, that's not going to work, so I'm going to do something else.
Okay, but if you were letting the cattle choose their favourite, how do they respond differently?
Look, they'll just go across to the little patch in the trial block, and they'll clean up the piece that had the fly ash on or something like that. And
it's like eating your favourite meal. And
that's it. Yeah, they went there and they just okay, they like that. And then when I dug underneath those plots, this one's got worms but no grass grub. And then I'd go to the superphosphate one and had grass grub and no worms. And so it was very obvious. I didn't know anything about soil fertility on the larger scale at that stage, but this is working and that's not. So it's not it was a pretty simple equation.
So
really.
That's the early My Farm is My Lab experiments.
That's it.
Yeah.
Our farms are all our labs.
Yeah.
Yeah.